like putting your hand in like boiling water and then somebody hammering on it at the same time. It's like that thudding pain, but also like searing at the same time.
Another. Hello, I'm Nipper Reed.
And I'm Phil Wolf.
So, settle down, have a nice cup of tea, and enjoy the Venomous Exchange Radio podcast.
Crumpets, Nipper. I want the crumpets.
Well, as you've been such an extraordinarily good boy.
In this episode, we're joined by Paul Bester from Cape Town, South Africa. Paul's a native South African and has a massive affinity for scorpions and African flora and fauna. His fieldwork in the Western Cape has granted him some amazing opportunities for both some fantastic photography as well as some legitimate boots-on-the-ground research. Being an arachnid keeper myself, I've met a lot of people passionate about bugs, but Paul's passion takes the cake. And we're live. Well, not live, but you know what I mean. So what's been up with you?
Not much, mate. I've been spending way too much money on European vipers. So I have a chum that is encouraging me way more than I should be encouraged to get back into the Euro vipers. And particularly the Iberian stuff, it really fits in with what I'm trying to do when I'm about to redo the snake building. So obviously, Spain, the habitat and temperatures are very, very similar to a lot of the places in the US with the stuff that I intend to keep. So it all fits in really nicely. And you know what it's like when you get into a rabbit hole. It's deep. So so I've got some beautiful Vipera Latasca Titania pre-ordered. I've got some lovely Vipera Renardi pre-ordered. And the big International Snake Day is in October. And I've got dollars to go and spend there. So I will be coming back. Hopefully, I've got some Cerestes, some Corotala Cerestes coming back.
Nice.
I've been waiting for them for so long. So that'll be very cool. And any extra money is either going to go on some locality milk snakes or some Iberian vipers or maybe some island rattlesnakes.
Nice. Yeah, you had asked me about Daytona and locality milk snakes, and I feel like that's very niche over here. So, like, are you looking for like triangulum, or are you looking for like?
Well, the thing is, I don't know what it's like I think it's better in the States because I've been going on Fauna Classified and looking at stuff, and I think you're way ahead of us because it's an American species, blah blah blah. But I think over here, the sad thing that's happened is people have been so focused on breeding morphs that you cannot get decent examples of just the sort of nominate species.
Sure.
And I'm not interested in morphs in the slightest, but Sinaloa, which now falls under Polyzona,
right?
I've managed to get a really nice example of that, so I need to pair that up. Camberleye, again, you see so many. It's Halloween phase, it's this phase. All beautiful looking snakes, not for me. The bog standard Camberleye, I think, looks insane. I think it's beautiful. Trying to track down just normal forms of these things are so difficult.
Yeah. And then I feel like there's certain ones that are completely extirpated from the hobby, like Rutheni.
Oh, trying to get Rutheni at the minute. You can get all day long. I can get Rutheni morphs.
Yeah, or Rutheni Pueblan hybrids.
Yeah, but can I get a nice locality pair of Rutheni, which I'd love? Is high on my list. You just don't see them. You don't see them at all.
Yeah, non-existent.
And a lot of the South American stuff has completely dropped out of the hobby. I'm trying to think of the Latin name for it. The ones from the Andes, I can't remember the Latin name.
I have no idea. It's triangulum?
Yeah.
Really?
One of the biggest ones. Just beautiful looking snake. No one's doing anything with them. There was some on Fauna Classified. There was 2 males on Fauna Classified.
Really?
But in Europe, cannot find them at all. Stunning looking snakes.
Yeah.
And even some of the non-Tharai Mexican stuff is fabulous.
Yeah.
But you don't see it. You just see the super colourful stuff. So,
well, I definitely I want to make you a little jealous. Is that Chris Panshab was at Daytona and was kind enough to introduce me to John Lasseter, and we talked about Leonis and Pyros, and you and I got a lot of work to do, bro.
Oh, mate, 100%.
A lot of work to do.
I'm gutted about when we were in Arizona. The site that we went to for the Cloudberry is a well-known site for what was Woodini.
Oh, really?
So it would be Infralabris.
Yeah.
I'd love to have seen that. I mean, we saw lots of great stuff. I'm not moaning, but to see Infralabris in the wild would have been.
And that's you guys. If you guys do that Utah trip, you're gonna find. Yeah. I mean, I hope you're gonna find one. But it's funny because I think Infralabris is probably my favorite, and obviously we can't have real Utah locality ones unless you are some kind of gift from God. But the Pyramalanas I chose ones that looked the closest to Infralabris. So
that's cool. So hopefully, and because a lot of the lowland forms have been banned in Europe now, the prices are just falling. Everyone's trying to get rid of their king snakes in Europe.
Really?
Yeah, so that they've been banned across Europe, but because of Brexit, we don't fall under the legal parameters of Europe anymore in the UK.
Excellent.
So we can have whatever. So everyone in Europe is just rushing to sell their kings and milks at the minute. So
very interesting. Very interesting.
But apart from that, mate, all is good. All is
good, man. No news is good news.
No news is good news. Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah. Hi, Phil. How's it been? How's Daytona?
Daytona was monumental. For those of you who are unaware, this past weekend was the National Reptile Breeders Expo in beautiful Daytona Beach, Florida. It was by far the biggest show. It's the biggest Daytona they've ever done. And there was two rooms. There was the old room, which is about the size of like 2 high school gymnasiums. And then you had the main convention hall. And I really feel like it brought so many more people, and so many vendors, but they could have did it all in one room. And I think that the COVID restrictions and whatnot, because the aisles were super wide, the aisles were like 20 feet apart and they really spaced it out, but it was a great show. Saw a ton of cool species, got a few things myself. All my friends got some stuff. So it was a wild ride. And, we always say that going to Daytona, the animals are just a bonus. It's about hanging out with like chosen family and partying and drinking and doing all that adult stuff. So
yeah, very jealous. What did you actually buy?
Well, I wound up picking up well, I can't talk today. An Appalachicolan king snake, which I still call goinai. Excuse me. I got a male baby to go with my female. I got a Lee Abbott Okatee corn, again a male to go with my female, and then I wound up picking up a heavily dark patterned baby female Woma python from Jason Balin. So that's my new my little baby, my little baby.
New project. And what else did you get? What else did you get book-wise, which I'm very
jealous about? Yes, I got my very own copy of Snake versus Man from Johann Marer, circa 1985. It's awesome. A first edition.
And 6 years before I was born.
It's good, man. It's good. But yeah, it was. There's one book guy who goes to all the big shows. He used to be in New York. Now he's down in the Carolinas. And him and his wife, I mean, they're older and all they do is sell herp books. And excuse me, the guy's been relatively hip to like market value of certain rare books. And like, if you want to find like an original, an original like Clobber Rattlesnakes edition, like from the 50s or 60s or whenever that book was first produced, it's going to run you a few $100s because it's all leather bound and gold inlay and all that crap. But at the same time, he has a ton of new stuff too. So he tries to section it by like parts of the world and then like animals within. So he'll have like an Africa section, he'll have an Australia section, and then like turtles will be on the right, and lizards will be in the left and snakes will be in the middle. And I kind of go through, and that's what we all do. And I just happened to see that spine that said snake on it, and it just drew me to it. And I was like, that's snake versus man. And like I touched it on the rack, and he goes, yeah, I figured you were going to grab that one. And I wound up snagging it, and I'm stoked.
That's amazing. That's lovely to find a little treasure like that when you're not expecting it.
Yeah, I got to call him back because he's supposed to have a first edition Fitzsimmons Snakes of Africa, like in great condition, and I'm sure he's going to want a few $100s for it because it's from God knows when. But now I got to call him because I definitely have to get that.
100%.
Add it to the Africa stack. So,
Yeah,
but it was a great show.
The pathology is quite. I'm jealous of you guys because you get so many books, and then on scorpions you don't get anything. I don't have even a single book in my book rack, even on scorpions. It's all. If you want to know something about scorpions, you have to go and like download a paper or something. So, pretty jealous about
it makes
that.
it tough.
I've got 3 bookcases full of books on herps alone.
Well, I think that's a good time to introduce our guest. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Mr. Paul Bester.
Hi, awesome. Hi, guys. Thanks, Phil Nepper, for having me.
We have been trying to do something other than snakes for a long time. I'm going to put my hands up. I know very little about scorpions. Phil is all over that shit. He loves a scorpion.
Awesome.
I know very little. I have photographed them around the world because I think they're fabulous. But I as far as their care and their biology and that sort of thing, I've never kept them or anything like that. So I'm going to take a real back seat and just learn stuff. So I should leave it to the bigger boys. I should just sit at the back like the kid with the glasses with the little plaster over it. One of those.
I like it.
What was
to say before?
Sorry, Phil, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say is I didn't know if you want to give like a little intro as to, where you come from and how you got into it and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no problem. I'm from Cape Town in South Africa. Got into scorpions, probably when I was like 14, 15 maybe. So about like half my age ago. Basically, it's my dad and my mom that got me into all the nature stuff. My dad is a pretty well-known birder in South Africa, probably I think he's like in the top 10 now in South Africa.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So you always had to go out into the field with him, and if you're looking for birds or you're sitting in the hide, it gets pretty boring. Birds are birds. So I would usually just leave the hide and go and scratch in the dirt, like a kid does. And I would find baboon spiders, snakes, and scorpions and stuff. And it basically started there. It developed. I started keeping snakes, and from snakes, it went to baboon spiders and tarantulas. And from there, I started keeping scorpions. And from there, it just exploded.
That's fantastic, man. That's the way to do it. How long before you start getting into the actual photography aspect of it?
So I kept scorpions for about 7 years, and when I started getting rid of my whole collection, I had probably more than 1,000 scorpions at one point. Bred everything. Wow. I had. If it was possible to breed them, I bred them. I got rid of them. It gets to be a chore though, because it's like you've got like 1,000 scorpions in these little tiny vials. Like they're like smaller than a centimeter big, and you've got like 100 of them in a tub, and you're sitting there, you throw a cricket in, water them, and that takes hours, like a week. So after I got a bit, it got to be a bit of a chore. I got rid of most of my collection. I don't have any scorpions now anymore, but it's like over the years it got smaller and smaller, and the keeping part like went dead with me, but as that went dead, I started like looking for them in the wild and just started photographing them. And that's basically the mission I'm still on, just photographing everything.
Incredible.
Can I ask, as someone who's never kept scorpions, I know you don't keep them now, what Have you kept snakes before? You actually kept snakes. I presume, obviously, scorpions are a lot smaller than snakes, but how do you keep scorpions? What was your setup like?
Well, it depends what scorpions you're keeping. So if you're going with the desert stuff, just small like plastic containers, just with sand, and that's it. Basically, you can just keep them on the sand. I follow the European model of keeping scorpions, and it's just sand. You don't even need a hide most of the time. If your container is like secure, the scorpion will feel secure in that container. It's like their burrow basically. And you give them like once a week, you get a little spritz of water next to the side, and that's it. And baby scorpions, I used to keep them in like just little pull holders, little vials. Just keep them in that, and I think scorpion keeping is probably the easiest thing of all the like exotic animals to keep. It's easier than tarantulas, easier than snakes, easier than lizards, anything like that.
So you don't need any external lighting, any external heating or anything like that?
In where I lived, I didn't, because it usually got to, in the summer, it got to about like 35 to 40 degrees. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, unfortunately.
No, that's okay.
But it got hot. So I would just go with a seasonal change. So in winter, I would let all my scorpions hibernate. And then in summer, they would just start heating up as summer started going. And that's about it. But I think in the European hobby and the American hobby for scorpions, they use a lot of heating. Some of the guys in Germany have a whole room and they just put on the air conditioner on 30, 35 and just keep it going like that for the whole summer. So for me, I never used heating. Over there, the guys use a lot of heating for scorpions.
I think it's really interesting what you're saying, that you found it with so many, it ended up being a chore. And I think a lot of people are sort of going that way at the moment. I know myself and Phil and Eric and the people that we talk to, less is definitely more. I think it wants to be fun. Definitely. It doesn't want to be something that is almost like a job that, you finish your day job and then you've got to come home and do another 4 hours a night every night. It should be a joy to go in, whether you're keeping snakes, spiders, fish, whatever you're keeping. I think you're absolutely right. It should always be a joy. It shouldn't be a chore. And if it is becoming a chore,
no, definitely.
Like
at the start, like for the first like 3 years, it was like very enjoyable because I had like maybe like 50 scorpions, and then it's easy, But when it gets to those like hundreds, it just gets too intense, and you can't keep up with everything. And it's not nice.
That's just an incredible amount. And I presume you're feeding crickets and stuff like that.
Yeah, so when I was feeding, I fed crickets and basically roaches, and then for babies, sometimes the babies are so small you can't feed them anything live. Like in Europe, they breed those like little fire brat things, like it's like little mice or something. In South Africa, you can't get them. So what I used to do with the smallest baby scorpions, I would just kill a roach, cut it in half, and just throw a half in for the baby, and they'd start eating the dead thing. It's like they scavenge basically.
Oh wow! I had no idea. Now, Phil, are you going to be across if I start asking really basic questions?
No, I say go for it. I feel like there's a lot of people that are curious, and there's a lot of people that might want to get into it, and maybe even listening to Paul talk may inspire them to get their first arachnid. I mean, who knows? I was just going to say, you know what? Take it away, Nipper, because I have a bunch of more technical stuff in my head.
Yeah,
and let's do that. Let's work our way up to that.
Well, let's do the basic stuff for the silly boy at the back. So my first question is, how many species of scorpion are there in South Africa?
Oof. So that's a bit of a murky thing, because the taxonomists and stuff are quite slow, So at the moment, there's probably like 200 plus, but described, there's probably like 102, 105 species. But there's like double that if the taxonomists get going and start describing the stuff.
And
because
Phil, just to compare, in the States, how many species of scorpion are there?
Oh,
roughly.
geez.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Roughly, I would say probably less than 20.
Oh, really?
No,
Yeah.
you've got a lot more than that. Hey?
You think?
I can tell you now. Just give me a second. I'll tell you how many you've got. I think you've got like 200 maybe.
In the United States? No, because I know you've got like
in
3 or
North
4.
America. Let's see. I've got USA. You've got 111.
111? How is that possible? No way. No way.
So I just checked.
That's where are you reading that?
A lot of. So if you go onto a website called Skerpioene.pl,
Okay.
I think it's done by a Polish guy, and it's basically a catalog of all the scorpion species that's been described by country.
Really?
And you can go to that country and it gives you like a drop down menu of all the species in that country. So
it was scorpion.pl.
It's Skerpioene, so it's scorpion with an E before the S at the end.
Okay.
And .pl.
Okay. Oh, there it is.
And you'll see.
Incredible.
Yeah, so I think there's like a thing where you can go onto a map and I think if you put so there's like 111. So you've got a little bit more than South Africa in the USA.
That's really interesting.
We're
to
still
me.
not the biggest countries too.
Yeah, that's so crazy because, like, for example, the entire eastern seaboard, there's only I think 3 species, and I'm wondering if they have taken the taxonomy and just ran with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So with the eastern seaboard on the US, with you guys in the US, it's pretty like there's not a lot, but if you go into the central of America and to the west coast, you get a lot of stuff. Like there's insane amounts of scorpions.
Well, now I got to go down that rabbit hole. Damn it, Nipper.
Well, I think you've got a lot of homework to do, Phil, to be perfectly honest. Shame on you. 20 species. You weren't even close.
To say the least. Jesus.
That's rubbish.
I mean, shit, we've seen...
Yeah, and then you get... Eiffel.
Yeah, no, sorry, the audio cut out for a second. Go ahead.
Yeah, so you get to like in Mexico, you get like, I think Mexico is probably the country with the most scorpions, and they've got like 200 plus. Brazil's got 200 plus. Yeah, so there's countries that are insane number of species. So yeah, there's.
Do you know how many species we have in England? We have one.
You've got one.
We have one.
Yeah, you've got
one species. Which
they introduced one.
Yeah, it does very well. It's about when I want to. I like to go and see them every now and then. It's about a 2-hour drive from my house, and they're just in 2 locations. One is Ongar in Essex, and the other one is Sheerness in Kent.
Yes,
Populations are huge. You know, they're super.
Yeah, that's crazy because it's crazy that you brought that up because that's actually like you always have that like bucket list of things to see of scorpions, and that the Sheerness one is actually on my list to see if I ever get to England one day.
If you come to England, I'll take you straight to the site. Yeah. It is basically a Victorian dockyard with about a 15-foot high stone wall all the way around it. So this wall is, it probably covers a couple of acres. It's a massively long wall all the way around a dockyard, and they're just all over the wall. This one wall.
What species is it?
It's a Euroscorpia species. I don't know which.
Okay.
But we just go down there with black lights, and within a few minutes, you just you're finding loads. 20 minutes searching, you'll probably find 10 or 20. It's the population densities are really good there, and they've been there for decades.
A long time. I think they got there in like the 1800s or something.
Yeah. It's great to see. I mean, it makes me laugh every time because it's such an abhorrent animal to see in the British countryside. It's not something that you'd expect at all. But man, come over and I'll take you straight there. It's easy. That's easy. I was going to say herping. I don't know what the word is. What is the word for looking for scorpions?
Yeah, no, I don't even use the word for it. It's just go into the field, man. That's about it.
Okay, yeah, well, it's easy. It's easy field work to find them. Put it like that. They're not hard.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Man, you shouldn't have told me about that Polish website. I'm literally like forcing myself not to click any links because that's a deep rabbit hole, man. Deep rabbit hole.
Yeah, so it's like one of the best websites. If you ever get somebody that asks you, you know, I get a lot of people on Instagram coming to me and they're like, I don't know, from Iran or something. And they're like, what scorpion is this? And you go to that website and you go to the maps area and you go on Middle East and you click on Iran and it brings down Iran's whole species list and you just take it from there and you're like, okay, that's an Androctonus or something. And you can go from there. If it's a yellow Androctonus, you can say, oh, it's a Australis or something like that. You know, it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, that's Phil not going out for the next week now.
Literally,
he's just going to sit in his pants and look at scorpions.
And now I'm like, man, I thought I only had like 10 or 15 more scorpions to photograph in my country, and now I'm screwed. Now I got to make special trips just to photograph them.
Well, we did good work in Arizona though. We had four species in Arizona.
Yeah.
And those the little mountain ones were fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I actually know two guys there in I think they're in California or something, and I've been following on Instagram for quite a while. It's the one guy is Bothrops et al, and the other guy is Me and the Aliens, and they actually work on the taxonomic side of scorpions in California, Nevada, and all those places. And they actually just brought out a new paper. Yeah, it's insane how many scorpions are in California, just like in these tiny little spots. You know, you get them for like a radius of 5 kilometers, and it's like totally like cut off from other species and stuff. It's insane.
That's awesome.
It's like the little ones, the tiny little scorpions we saw in the Sky Islands, are like endemic to that one little Sky Island. Yeah. And then, you know, 30 miles down the road or 20 miles down the road, you've got another Sky Island with a completely different scorpion on it. It's fabulous. Yeah. Absolutely fabulous.
Yeah, it's a good point.
That's
great point.
Great to see. So, another basic question. We decided we've got about, how many did you say? 110 species before taxonomy splits?
Yeah.
What are the scorpion species that are potentially a risk to humans?
So in South Africa, I would say there's only like 2 recorded species that's caused deaths, and that's Parabutus granulatus, the rough thick-tailed, and then you get the Parabutus transvalicus, which most people know them. It's the Transvaal thick-tail. You get other scorpions that could cause complications, you know, in older people and young children and stuff like that, but there's never been any documented cases for them causing death. But with Parabutus granulatus, you get at least like 2 to 3, maybe 4 deaths a year. Not a lot, but, you know, it happens.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. I mean, compared to, the UK, although we only have 1 species of venomous snake, we have 0 fatalities a year, and yet you're living in a country with scorpions that are causing fatalities. I think that's incredible. So, are there any stats for, apart from mortality rates, are there any stats for hospitalizations for scorpion bites, or is it not something that will be recorded?
I don't think it's a highly recorded thing, because it's a rare occurrence to find people dying of scorpions. But usually it's just people get you go to the hospital and they just treat you symptomatically, and that's about it. You know, there is anti-venom, but it's usually not needed for scorpions. So I don't think there's a lot of recorded, information about that stuff.
Cool.
And that segues to the next question is, I assume you've been stung before. Have you ever been stung by something you would consider medically significant?
Not by a native species, but with exotic species, yes. So I've been stung by a lot of South African stuff, like the burrowing scorpions, the creeping scorpions, the lesser thick tails and stuff like that. But that's it hurts for about an hour, and then it goes away and you have like pins and needles. But something really venomous, I've been stung by a Hottentotta Minnesota from, I think it was from Iraq. And it got me, I was actually like moving them from container to container, and I didn't have my tongs at the time. And I was like, okay, I've been tailing scorpions for a long time. I'll try it. And I misgrabbed, and the thing got me on like my index finger.
Oh,
and
geez.
it's not a nice experience. I would say it's like putting your hand in like boiling water, and then somebody hammering on it at the same time. It's like that thudding pain, but also like searing at the same time.
Jesus.
And within like an hour, it went up to about my shoulder. My arm swelled up. The lymph nodes started to get a bit, started to pain. And at that time, I think I was like 18 or something. So I was a bit scared to go to hospital because I think it's like 13 years ago, and it was illegal to keep those scorpions at the time. So I didn't want to go to hospital and get into all this like where you were stung by, how did you get it, So I just took a few like pain tablets, went through the day. It was so intense. But like 2 days later, the pain started to go away. So so I've been stung by some hectic stuff, but lived through it.
That's crazy.
Is and again, forgive me for my lack of knowledge. With a scorpion envenomation, are there the same potential problems as with? How does it work? Is it cytotoxic? What sort of venom is it?
So almost all species of scorpions are neurotoxic. So it's all the heart problems and the breathing problems and stuff like that. And then you get like Hemiscorpius, which is I think in the Middle East and like Egypt and things. And they actually, I forget the venom name, like a puff adder venom, the one that eats like the flesh and stuff.
And that's necrotic stuff.
So that's one of the few like scorpions that actually have that venom, and they've actually caused fatalities. And they'll like get stung on the finger, and the finger starts rotting away. But like I think like 99% of scorpions are neurotoxic, and the highly venomous ones basically is cardiac arrest and breathing issues and stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So, have you ever been stung by Transvalicus?
No, never. Okay. I've never been stung by a Parabutus before. I don't intend to get stung by one. I would never tail a Parabutus.
Well, so Transvalicus is hands down probably my favorite scorpion. And when I first got one, when I got my first one, this was probably a decade ago, there was that whole thing of, they can spray its venom. It can spray its venom. It can spray its venom. So here I am, young and stupid, and I put glasses on, the same one I use for the spinning cobras and stuff. And here I am with tweezers, like poking it. And I did this for so long, and it never did anything. And I was going to ask you, is it true, and have you seen it?
So I've seen videos of it. I've actually seen where it's actually like squirted. It's like basically like a spitting cobra. It just like squirts straight out.
Really?
In the field, I've never seen any Parabutas do that before. I've seen them flick venom, like they'll have like droplets of venom on the vesicle, on the stinger, right. And they'll like flick their tail, and the venom will like spray everywhere. So I've never seen the actual like the spraying, but I've seen them flick the venom before.
Interesting. Yeah, the closest thing I've seen was Liosoma that like was forcing out the venom, and it was just like a leaking faucet, just like drip, drip.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you get that a lot in Parabutas. It's like if you start tampering with them, it starts dripping like almost within a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, and we had just spoke with Kyle from East African Venom Supply in Kenya, and he was telling me that they changed Liosomas now. I think Maximus.
Yes,
I didn't know if
it's split up into 3 species. I think.
Okay, but you guys still have Liosoma, but that's way far east of you, right?
Yeah, no, it's Kenya and Ethiopia and places like that, far away from South
No, I
Africa.
was saying, but like in Gauteng, they have like Lyasoma and like into southern
Yes.
Mozambique and stuff. Okay. Very cool, man. Very cool.
Just as far as the sort of after envenomation, systemic, I'm not sure what the word is, other things, I was photographing or trying to photograph the hybrid between the Asp viper and the Amidites viper in Slovenia. There's a little tiny contact area and you get this crazy looking snake, the two species of hybridites.
It's like a naturally occurring intergrade.
Naturally occurring intergrade, it's very cool. And a very good photographer friend of mine was there with me, and he flipped a rock and he got bitten by a scorpion in Slovenia. And it was a bit painful, but nothing berserk. But he couldn't stop throwing up. He was vomiting for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah.
Really strange. I mean, you're talking a scorpion was probably no more than a couple of centimeters long.
Yeah.
And, and he's a big lad. Just the damp, the effect it had on him was incredible.
Yeah, no, it's with scorpions, it's like you get so many side effects. Usually it's like limited to a few, but sometimes, like you said, you get people vomiting and you get people, swelling up like insane amounts on like the sting site and stuff like that. But yeah, usually it's not that bad, but yeah.
Yeah, incredible little thing. I mean, going back to Arizona, the other thing was the potential to easily get envenomated, because when it rained, there were so many scorpions and they blend in so well and they're on the rock surface. So as you're scrambling around, particularly one of them, I went to put my camera bag down and there's a scorpion there. It's easy. Yeah. It's not like a snake, which is quite a big thing, even though with the cryptic, the rattlesnakes or whatever, that it's a sizable thing. The scorpion.
Yeah, and it makes a noise sometimes, the rattlesnake rattles.
Yeah, I mean, that's why
a scorpion doesn't.
Exactly. I mean, that's why American herping is so easy. I don't know why people have a problem with it. But European stuff is silent. But just the potential for us to get envenomated while we was just clambering over rocks or taking photographs of other things.
We didn't even need the black light. They were just walking around. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's the same in South Africa. It's like when I go looking for scorpions, and I usually have to stay at like a campsite or a national park or something like that, the people will always say, "Hey, just wear shoes, don't wear flip-flops or something like that, because there are scorpions." And the people always like ignore it and stuff. And even me, I used to like walk with flip-flops and stuff. And if you actually walk inside like the campgrounds, like between people's tents and stuff, you get the parabutas walking around, like cruising around and stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's not an easy thing to avoid.
That's super cool, man. Super cool. So what is let me rephrase that. Where you live, is there a good population of different species, or do you have to travel to really find some unique and photogenic stuff?
Yeah, so like with most countries, if you're living in the the metropolitan or the suburbs or something, everything is built up. There's nothing left, basically. So in Cape Town, there's like little pockets of nature left, and you can go and find a scorpion there. But it's always like, I would say in Cape Town, there's no like intense scorpion species that stands out or something like that. So I usually have to travel at least 100 km before I get like photogenic scorpions or something that's a bit more rare or photogenic or something.
Excellent. Very cool. Yeah, it makes for a good trip. You get away from suburbia, the city, and find what you love, find what you're looking for.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
How many times do you go out looking for scorpions and wind up being a herper instead?
So it's funny you said that. It's like I go about, I would say, once a month for intensive, go and look for scorpions or something like that, take a few hours a day. And and I rarely see snakes. Maybe like once every 10 trips, I'll see a snake.
Really?
Yeah, it's insane. Usually when I go with people, I see more, but it seems like I repel snakes. I usually find stuff that live like scorpions. So if I start rock flipping, I might find a snake that live under the rocks. But I rarely see any bitters, I rarely see cobras. I rarely see sand snakes, stuff that's on the go,
Yeah.
I don't see them a lot, but things like shovel snouts and red lips and stuff like that like hiding under rocks and logs like scorpions.
Yeah.
I can find them quite easily, but yeah, that's about it. I never see like the crazy snakes.
Yeah, you gotta try and get the cohab picture, with the scorpion and the scorpion, the centipede, and the snake all under the same rock.
Yeah.
There was a guy in East Cape who had a photo floating around for a while it was a red-lipped herald under a single rock that he flipped, and then right next to it was an opisthothalamus that was bigger than the snake.
Yeah.
And that picture was awesome, man.
Yeah, that's a nice snack for the opisthothalamus, to be honest.
Exactly. He was sizing them up, right?
Yeah, no, I've seen scorpions in the Northern Cape, so in the desert parts, you get these like once a year you'll get like a thunderstorm in the area. And I was there the one year and the thunderstorm was going, and this one parabutus like Schlechterai was cruising about with like a thread snake in its mouth, because they like fossorial snakes and they come up when it's raining, and they actually catch the snakes and stuff. So it's quite cool to see that.
That's awesome. Absolutely incredible. And I imagine it was probably a fairly big parabuthus.
Yeah, so the Schlechterai in that area get about 10 to 12 centimeters from tip of the tail to the mouth parts.
Wow.
Yeah. Not the biggest, but yeah, they get quite big. So yeah.
That's awesome. So let's talk about this then. How often do you travel into Namibia, or do you try and keep it, mostly in your state?
So if I ever get the chance to go to Namibia, I'll take take that option. But I've probably been in Namibia for scorpions about 3-4 times. I've done a whole trip. I think it was 3 weeks. We did start from the south, went up all the way to the border with Angola, went to the east part, and then came back straight down. And yeah, I found so many scorpions. Like Namibia is just like an extension of South Africa when it comes to scorpions. You get the same type of stuff. It's parabutus, opisthothalamus, uriplectes, all those types of things. It's just a big desert, basically.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome.
Why do I find it really strange that someone would do a 3-week trip to field hurt for scorpions when I would do exactly the same trip in exactly the same area for snakes? It's just really
yeah. So that trip actually started with my dad because he wanted to see some birds up in the north. I think it's on the border with Angola, and I was like, yeah, there's some scorpions I'd like to see in the area, so I'll go with, So
that's brilliant.
Yeah, I saw quite a few things in Namibia. It's like the big Parabutus velocis. It's like the biggest venomous scorpion in the world. So they get to about 18 centimeters.
Yeah.
And seeing them, like, they're also the only diurnal scorpion. So you see them cruising out in the dunes in the daytime. So we were walking around looking for birds, and you see this like big black hairy scorpion just cruising around on the dunes, and it's crazy. Yeah,
that's awesome. Absolutely awesome.
I would love to see that. I could be honest. So, can I ask, regarding the photography, was there something that you started before you were keeping, or was it you were keeping and that pushed you to go out and start taking your photos?
Yeah, so it started when I was keeping, because I used to frequent the forums, scorpion forums and stuff like that. And you take pictures of your collection, like everybody does in the snake hobby and the reptile hobby or whatever. And it started with the exotic species. I'd take photos. I had this crappy camera, like a point and shoot thing. It's like 20 years old. But yeah, and then from there, I got a better camera, and basically I enjoyed photographing them in the wild more than actually keeping them in a little container or something.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, myself included, I kind of go in that way. I'm keeping less and want to get out more.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
It's getting into nature, you know. It's a much more natural connection with the scorpion or the animal than it's not being mean to keepers or anything, but I feel it's a more natural like connection you've got with that animal. It's like
I completely agree. I mean, I was super keen to keep Cloudberry and Willardi, but now I've seen them in the wild, I'm less keen to keep them. It doesn't mean I won't keep them.
Yeah.
But there is something.
It's totally different.
Yeah, there was something about seeing them in the wild that I don't know. It's hard to explain, but yeah, that's interesting.
I think
for me, it's like if you see them in the natural habitat, the surroundings and everything. It's you understand how the thing lives. You know, you understand the hardship of the animal. You know how they catch their prey. How the rains and stuff affect them, all those kind of hardships they have in the wild, you understand that a lot more than when you keep it in a vial. You give it a bit of water every week and feed it once a week, you know.
Yeah.
Easy life.
Yeah, and it's whether we can as keepers recreate that to some extent at home, or are we not doing a fabulous animal the justice it deserves?
Yeah.
So you said you had a crappy point and shoot camera. You've upgraded now. What are you using at the minute? What's your kit at the minute?
So it's still a point and shoot. I don't use like a DSLR or something.
Okay.
I've actually never used a DSLR before in my life. My dad and all the bird photographers and stuff, they use these huge lenses and DSLR cameras that cost 40,000 Rand, which is about, I don't know, like 4,000 pounds or something. And I don't know, for what I do, I find a point and shoot camera, as long as every part of the scorpion is in focus, it's all good. I use a normal a Nikon
thank God you said Nikon.
Yeah, so basically a Nikon bridge camera. So it's like that in between a point and shoot and a DSLR. So
I completely get it. I do use a big camera, a Nikon. Thank God you pronounced Nikon correctly, unlike my American friends. And I've got all these, as you say, extortionately expensive lenses, and I carry it around all day. I think just my camera alone with one lens on it weighs about 2 kilos. And you carry it through the bush all day, and I take more pictures on my phone than anything else. The camera quality, it's easy, but the camera quality on particularly the iPhones and things like that now, if you're doing a relatively small subject, is fantastic. And you've not got to worry about ISOs. You've not got to worry about am I going to burn it out on the flash? You know, is the depth of field correct? Because everything's done for you. The beauty, I would imagine, when I'm taking pictures of scorpions, the beauty of it is they're not the biggest thing in the world. It's not like trying to photograph a 5-foot snake and get that all in focus. You're looking at something that's probably 10 centimeters or something like that, which oftentimes sits quite still for you, which is another bonus.
I wouldn't say that there.
No? Okay.
No.
In my small experience of photographing scorpions, they've all, if I flipped a rock or they've been out on a rock, as soon as you come near it, they just sort of freeze, and you can really get some nice macro shots of them. It's really cool.
Yeah, so for me, scorpions are like the perfect size for photographing for what I'm used to. It's like you said, it's not a big 5-meter snake, and it's not like a tiny 1 centimeter little spider. It's like they're perfect in the middle. You don't need this extortionary like macro lens, and you don't need this crazy big wide angle lens for bigger things. You just use a normal camera and it does the job. But going on that thing about where they sit still, yes, you're right. If you flip the rock, they'll sit still. But to get the pictures I usually need, I have to get them in a certain position. The tail has to be flat, the legs have to be spread out, the the pincers have to be, everything has to be uniform so you can get everything in the photo, because then it's the best to use as an identifier. If somebody asks you, hey, how does a scorpion look, you send a photo that you can see all the features, and when you're trying to get them into that position, they run and they don't stop running, especially if it's windy and especially if it's hot. They don't stop running.
So is there any little hints or tips? I mean, for us as snake photographers, everyone carries a saucepan lid to put over the snake, and it curls up beautifully under the saucepan lid, and you take it away and you've got this crackingly positioned snake. Is there anything you can do for scorpions like that?
I've got an easier one for you. You've always got it with you as a shoe. You just step on
them.
Really?
You
don't crush them. You just basically you make them feel like they're under a rock again, basically.
Right.
So they feel that contact from above, and they feel the contact from below, and they feel safe. And that's also, if you're ever handling a non-venomous, well, not non-venomous, but a not dangerous scorpion, you do the same. When you've got it on your hand, it's flat on your hand, and if you want to get it to calm down, you put your other hand on top of it, and you basically try and gently squeeze it down, and they feel safe. They feel they feel secure in between your two hands, and they'll calm down. And so use your shoe, or just use a rock and just put them under the rock again.
Great.
So you don't actually have to use any, bring any material with. No,
that's handy. And obviously, predominantly, you're photographing at night.
Yes.
So that must cause its problems, because trying to get decent photography for snakes and lizards and stuff at night is problematic. Is there the same sort of problems with scorpions? Do you get the translucence? Do you get reflectivity off of them, or is it quite easy with a standard flash?
With a standard flash, I don't usually have a problem. It's when you get those shiny scorpions, like you said, you get that reflection, especially with something like the flat rock scorpions or the burrowing scorpions, especially the females, because they are much more, how would I say, burrow bound, or they stay a lot more in their hiding spot. They are a lot more glossy than a male or something like that. And if you use a flash on them, they actually reflect quite a bit. So that's probably the only problems you've got when you're photographing a scorpion is the reflection.
Okay. Have you done any of this? I mean, I've got a chum that takes some scorpion pictures, and he does the sort of black light pictures where they're glowing up. Have you done anything incredible?
No, it's quite difficult because you have to have your ISOs and everything set to a certain thing, so it's not easy on a bridge camera or something like that. But if you've got a DSLR camera, it's quite easy if you set the settings to the correct areas and things.
So my question to you now is, how often do you actually use a black light to find stuff, or is it mostly during the day flipping stuff?
So in the summer, it's about 100% UV lighting. You go to a spot and you spend the day just waiting till the night, and then you go out until about 2:00 in the morning, just UV light, and that's the only way. And in winters, that's when you start rock flipping, because it's too cold for the scorpions to come out. So you just go look for them, or you go digging or something like that.
Very cool.
Have you got a website of your photographs that people can? Are you on Instagram for your photos?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram. It's let me see what my username actually is. It's Paul Bester _Scorps, and that's it. You can see a lot. I post about every second day. So
that's cool. Phil can put that out on the link. So
absolutely,
I will be following you within the hour.
100%, dude. And the photography is incredible, absolutely incredible. Because I spend a lot of time looking at scorpion pictures, especially on Instagram, and most of the time it's some really good cell phone pictures, myself included. But I love how you get a little bit of the habitat, a little bit of the bug. Forgive me for using the word bug, and and it's never, you can tell it's never the same actual specimen, because the variability is so dynamic. And you throw some other stuff that you find in there too, lizards, snakes, what have you. That cataphractus was pretty awesome, I gotta say.
Awesome. Yeah, I love them. They difficult to find, but when you do find them, they like one of the best things to get in South Africa, because they just look like a little dragon, it's intense.
They're definitely a bucket list species for me.
Yeah,
like the desert iguana.
Yes, like the desert iguana. Did you see? I sent the boys from Arizona in the group chat the desert iguana in the deli cup on the table.
I did see that. It did make me chuckle. Yeah, another one on your list.
Yeah.
So when you're just for anyone else that's thinking of maybe doing, I don't know what to call it, not a herp trip, a field trip for scorpions to South Africa. Is it safe to go off on your own and travel around in some of the areas that you're going for scorpions, particularly if you're maybe not local?
Yeah, so that's one of the difficult parts when you're coming to South Africa and you want to go out into the bush or something like that. It all depends on where you are. Hey? If you're in the Northern Cape, if you're in the Western Cape, usually quite safe going out about on your own, especially in the Northern Cape, because it's just a big desert and nobody really lives there. You'll only get trouble if you're in town or something like that. Somebody trying to rob you or something like that. But some of the more sketchy provinces like KwaZulu-Natal or Limpopo or Northwest, I wouldn't suggest just going out on your own. Maybe take a guy or another guy or something like that, and just stick to groups. But just depends where you are in South Africa. Some of the places are exceptionally safe, and other places just aren't. Especially the cities.
Yeah, it's like anywhere, isn't it? There's some safe places. You need to just have your wits about you. Are there organised trips? Is there any companies doing scorpion trips out there, or is it something?
No scorpions. No, you won't find any scorpion trips in South Africa. You get like spider walks and stuff, and they'll like include scorpions if they find them, but you'll never get like a how would you say, like a predominantly scorpion type field trip or something like that.
Okay, well, there's a business opportunity for you right there, because 100%. I'm sure it's like anything. There's so many people that are interested in stuff like this. I mean, I get approached all the time about herping trips and stuff like that. But people are interested, but they don't want to, or don't feel they have the capability to organise a trip and have the local logistics and stuff like that. So I think, you know, there's a lot of people out there that keep scorpions who would love to go out and do field work with scorpions.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's also that thing about all the laws in South Africa,
right?
Because it's always like you're not supposed to disturb the animal, you're not supposed to shine anything on them. There's all these like redundant laws, you get, and as far as I know, in some of the provinces, you're not actually allowed to use a UV light on scorpions because it falls under torches, and you're not allowed to torch an animal. So it's the laws are sometimes so stupid, and sometimes it's understandable, but it's difficult to get something going like that in the Western Cape, because the Cape Nature, it's like the body that does all the rules for the province on the nature part. They're very strict, and they're quick to give out fines because that's how they get their money. So something like doing a scorpion trip, if you're not part of a national park, and you're working with the national park or working with Cape Nature, I wouldn't attempt it, because there's always somebody that wants to go and this guy's doing this, it's illegal, So it's never easy.
I forget. I mean, I live in the UK, and I can go out and put my finger up a badger's bum, and there are no laws to protect it. It's I can see that. It's like kind of like Australia, I suppose.
It's basically like Australia, the same type of it's just very strict.
Yeah. So if somebody was wanting to come out and do a sort of like a field trip, what would you say? Because limited time. What is the hot spot? If you're going to say, if you've got a week, where would you go?
For scorpions?
For scorpions, yeah.
I would say the Northern Cape, basically.
Northern Cape,
You start in the south of the Northern Cape, and you just keep on going until you hit the border with Namibia. You can probably do a good field trip like that in a week or two, and you'll probably see about, depends where you're going, but you'll probably see like 20 to 30 species.
Wow.
If it's a good time of the year,
Yeah.
if you're going saying in January when they've got their thunderstorms and their rains, you'll see a lot of scorpions. Sometimes if it's a thunderstorm, if you get to, I always go to this one place just on the Orange River, which is like the border with Namibia. They get annually about 1 or 2 thunderstorms with a lot of rain. And if you can time your trip with a thunderstorm and you go walking just as a thunderstorm is starting, you can see probably like in one night, maybe close to 500.
Wow. That's incredible.
It's insane when you're walking and you're just seeing like, say, 10 scorpions right next to you. You know, it's if you time it right, you can see a lot of things.
Incredible. So what's the biggest number of species and what's the biggest number of specimen you found in a single night?
A single night? Well, I would say like close to like the 500 mark.
Wow.
Species wise, I would say about in one night, if you're in the right place and if you visit like numerous habitat spots, you know, because some live in the rock cracks, some live on flats, some live in rocky areas. You can probably see in some areas you can get to about 14 species in one night.
Wow. That's awesome.
That's cool.
I love the whole concept of supplemental. I mean, I don't want to call it supplemental herping, but so many of us go looking for, whether it's birding or fishing or herping, we go looking for, key species, desired animals. And, I'm going looking for, I don't know, quote, I'm going looking for puff adders. And I happen to find a herald snake. Well, that's cool, man. I wasn't looking for it, but I get to tick that off the list, right? But when you have something like arthropods, whether it be centipedes or spiders, tarantulas, scorpions, what have you, it adds so much more. You know what I mean? And I feel like you could almost reverse that too, to the point where my friends and I, we've gone out looking for, centroides that live locally by me, and we'll find frogs, we'll find centipedes, find all kinds of stuff, including the centroides. So I really love the concept of the diversity in the herping, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like when I've got like a bad trip and you can't find any scorpions, which isn't a lot, but I've got this one guy that always goes out into the field with me, Andres, and he's quite big into succulents, the plants and things. And it started rubbing off on me. So when I can't find scorpions, I start photographing plants, which is
that's awesome.
I never thought I'd do something like that, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah. Well, I just took Nipper. The two of us, as well as some of our friends, went to Arizona, and I see him taking pictures of cactus. And I'm like, why is he taking pictures of cactus? And he's like, look at this cactus. And I look at it, I'm like, oh shit, he's right. It's fascinating. It's beautiful,
Yeah, no, especially if you're living in a place that has such a rich biodiversity of plants. So some of them are quite like crazy. Like especially if you're living in the desert, those plants are like dead half of the year, and then when they get that one rain a year, they like explode. Like living stones or something like that, which we get in South Africa. It's like I don't know if you know what a living stone is. It's lithops. Like a lithops. Yeah, so they basically dead for, I would say, 8 months a year in some parts. They get a little bit of rain and they explode out of they get like this protective sheath over their leaves. And they actually burst when it's raining. They burst out of that sheath and make a new leaf form.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
No, as I say, whenever I'm herping, throughout Europe, you do see a lot of scorpions. It's just to my shame, I haven't got a clue what I'm looking at half the time. And then, I take pictures, and then, as you say, there's not a massive amount of literature. Now you've told me about that website. Now I can start looking and trying to identify stuff. But yeah, I mean, all over Europe, the Middle East, I've taken loads of pictures of scorpions. Haven't got a Scooby what they are, but I can go back.
Yeah, with Europe, it's pretty difficult because usually it's just you get your scorpions and that's about it. But if you start getting into the south, like Spain, the southern France, Portugal, you start getting bootids, which is like the more dangerous scorpions in Europe. But usually you just get Scorpius in Europe, which is those little tiny little brown things, and they're not very interesting.
All right, they're interesting to me. I do know we photographed some very naughty stuff in Israel that were quite dangerous.
Yeah,
I can't remember what they were called, but they're quite small and very narrow pincers and very, very dark scorpions. But I know everyone was absolutely terrified of them. But
it's probably not the Androctonus because they've got those huge thick tails.
Right.
It's got a thin tail or a thick tail?
The thin tails they had.
It's probably Laurus, or what the people would call a death stalker.
That was it. Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
So I've kept them as well before, bred them as well, and they're quite cool scorpions. Very, very chilled actually compared to other things.
Yeah. They just revised that genus too, didn't they?
Not that I'm aware of, but I can't say I keep up with international taxonomy that much.
No, they had too much. I think it was like 4 species. Now it's up to I think 8.
Yeah, no, it's. I think there might be more than 8 for Laurus.
Okay.
If it feels track records anything to go by, there's probably 100 of them now.
Well, I know there was a huge discrepancy between certain like Quinquestriatus that was found in Egypt, Quinquestriatus that was found in Tunisia and Libya.
You're actually right. Yeah.
And then they basically just took Quinquestriatus and like split it up into like 5 or 6 more. So
that's the new I won't say fad with taxonomy and scorpions, but they like splitting species now.
Yeah.
So that's why I said when you're looking at this South African species, if you're going with the Pisthothalamus, the burrowing scorpions, they are about, I would say, 50 to 60 species at the moment.
Wow.
But the people are working on like tripling that number because there are so many that they just want to split the species basically. And I understand that sometimes, but we'll have to see when everything comes out.
Yeah. Which Pisthothalamus do you have locally?
In Cape Town?
Or like where you are, yeah.
So in Cape Town, you get in Cape Town South, you get 1 species, Pisthothalamus capensis. Okay. And then if you go up to the Western Cape, not the Western Cape, the West Coast, you get quite a few. So you get capensis, you get latro, you get Fusipes, you get Pelipes, you get quite a lot of species in the area. Depends how far you want to go. But just within Cape Town South, you get 1 burrowing species.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had capensis before. I've also kept Wahlbergii and Boehmei. And and I'll be honest, the Boehmei were probably my favorite. Those things, you spray the sand a little bit and they make these crazy tunnels.
Yes, they are. They're one of the more intense burrowers because they live only in a small part of South Africa. They're actually more a Mozambican species.
Okay.
But they live basically. It's like the last part of the Kalahari sand system.
Sure. In
South Africa, and it's a lot of sand. It's like this loose sand, and they are so well adapted to burrowing and stuff. So you get some species that make like insane burrows, like meter down or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Makes me feel bad about keeping them in a deli cup.
Yeah, no, it does sometimes, but right? I don't think they're that worried. They don't have the biggest brains. But I've got pictures where I'm standing in southern Namibia in a burrow that I dug. Tried digging out the scorpion, and it was about 1 meter deep. I was standing up to my waist. Yeah.
Wow.
Not easy, and it was in a dry riverbed. So if you dig and if you lose that burrow for 1 second, because you follow the burrow down with a little stick, and if that sand is very loose and you start digging with a spade, the whole burrow just collapses and you've lost the scorpion basically. You can't get it again. Yeah, so it can be quite difficult in some areas. Yeah.
And you did find that specimen or no?
Yeah, I found quite a few. I lost a few as well, but
okay. Awesome, man. I can only imagine doing that, Incredible.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you start learning a lot about how deep you're supposed to go, and you basically it's like a set of steps you have to take. You've got your spade, and you put your little. People usually take a little teaspoon, and you put the back part of the teaspoon in the burrow, and you start taking layer off of the top of the burrow. You start layer, and then you see where the scorpion burrow goes again. You put this teaspoon down deeper, and you start going layer, and you just do that. And sometimes the scorpion burrow will go 180. It will sometimes just go down and it'll stop, and would have made a different route. And sometimes the scorpion catches you and you can't, follow its burrow. Sometimes they're smarter than you.
That's awesome. That's so cool, man.
Huh. Yeah, so actually I'm actually busy working on a book for the Western Cape species.
Excellent. That was going to be my next question.
So it's taken a lot of time, a couple of years now, because you have to get a male and female of every species, and there are about 35 species in the Western Cape. So I think maybe at the end of basically the only thing holding you back is the photos, because you can't just go to a spot and say, I'm going to find a male and a female. You might find 20 females and no males. So hopefully at the end of the year, I'll have all the photos. The book is written.
Excellent.
I just need the photos.
Excellent.
So if that's finished off, Nipper, I'll send you a free copy.
Oh, mate, that would be awesome. Love a signed copy. Love a signed copy.
That's incredible, man. I was just about to ask you if there was any thought about doing some, whether it be a book on South Africa or just the West Cape or just sub-Saharan species of scorpions, that you definitely should do something like that, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. So there's actually the one professor that I usually go into the field with. He actually was the first guy that I would say exposed me to the scientific part of scorpions, Dr. Ian Engelbrecht. And he's also, I would say, the protege of Lorenzo Prendini. And Lorenzo Prendini is the head curator of the arachnid department at the Natural History Museum in New York.
Wow.
And this Ian Engelbrecht is actually working on the whole South Africa. So all the species, and that's never been done. You get books on scorpions like Jonathan Leeming's book, but that's the common species you find. Like there might be like 30 species in the whole of South Africa in that book. And Ian Engelbrecht actually, I think he's been working on this book for more than 10 years.
Wow.
And it's about 100 plus species that he's photographed. And so hopefully that will be out next year maybe. And that's one of the first main publications for scorpions. So maybe you can get that as well.
Excellent. 100% I'll grab that. Keep us posted, man. That's awesome.
If you follow my Instagram, I'm sure I'll post it on there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, hey man, we're right at around an hour. Is there any thing you wanted to touch base on, Nipper, or no?
No, just a huge thank you for Paul for coming on. It's really good to see somebody that's as excited about another type of field work. I'm used to talking to people that are really excited about going out and photographing lizards or going out and photographing snakes or whatever. But to see the same, I mean, every time you talk about it, your face lights up. It's so good to see somebody that's so into whatever species they're into. I'm already excited about my next trip. I'm going to Milos in 2 weeks' time, and I'll be looking for scorpions now, which is
Milos
really...
in Greece.
Yeah, the Cyclades. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got a lot of things to go and look for there. There's quite a few things.
Yeah. So but it's just another. As Phil said, it's another thing to look at when you go out for me now. I think that's great.
Yeah.
You
just
really
keep on
cool.
Expanding, and it's always awesome. It's the same for me. It's like I used to know nothing about plants. I used to know nothing about lizards and stuff like that, and you start going out with these people that they might not be interested in scorpions, but you start catching on to stuff that you might be interested in. I love finding geckos. It's one of my favorite things to get, the Pachydatylus genus. It's awesome finding them when I'm looking for scorpions. So yeah,
That's
it's always
awesome.
nice expanding your repertoire.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
man.
That's very cool. I just want to say a very quick shout out to my Iberian chum, who I won't name because he's quite self-effacing, but he knows who he is. And I just want to say a huge, genuine thank you for reigniting my passion for Eurovipers. I've been chatting to him a lot, and he has cost me an absolute fortune of late. Because the Euro shows are coming up, I have pre-ordered a lot of Vipers, and I'm really motivated again to keep Euro Vipers. So you know who you are, mate, and I appreciate your input. Apart from that, I'm all good. Follow me on Instagram if you're not already.
Yes.
That's it.
At Nipper Reed. Make it happen, people.
Let's get me over 1,000 followers. Come on.
Yeah, man. Hell yeah. And Paul, I know you mentioned the Instagram earlier. Is there anything else you want to say or have people contact you? Where can people find you besides the Instagram?
So if anybody is listening in South Africa, I actually work with, well, I don't work with them. I do the identifications for them. It's the virtual museum that works out of the University of Cape Town. And it's basically like iNaturalist or iNat, you know, where they, normal people that go into the field, you take a picture of something, you see a scorpion or something, you load it onto their database, and that helps mapping out the distribution ranges of something. So if a South African is listening, you know, if you see a scorpion in South Africa, you can take a picture and I'll just upload it on Virtual Museum. And I do the identifications for that. And it's one of the biggest helps when identifying scorpions if you know what the distribution of the species are. So, yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And your Instagram is at Paul Bester _Scorps, right?
Yes.
All right. Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm Phil, and you can find me at knobtails.ig. And big shout out to the Herpetoculture Network. Check it out. Snakes and Stogies, THP, as well as the Morelia Python Network, Morelia Python Radio, and the like. And Paul, thanks so much for coming on, man.
Oh, no, man. Thanks for asking me. It was a pleasure.
Love it, man. Love it. And we'll definitely we'll have to get you on for more stuff in the future, especially when that book comes out.
Definitely. Yeah. If you see me posting the book, maybe beginning of next year, you can just send me a message and I'll happily come on again.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Fantastic. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.